Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Rollin-ish. My name is Matt, and in this video we're going to focus on the Druidic Circles, which are the subclasses for the Druid class. In your player's handbook, there are two that are listed, the Circle of the Land and the Circle of the Moon. Circles are considered like a group or a gathering, and that is why it is so named for the subclass. On a local scale, Druids view themselves as brothers and sisters, and they're organized into circles based on their certain perspectives on nature, balance, and the way of the Druid. Should you, at second level, choose the Circle of the Land subclass, you are going to get some additional features that are specific to the Circle of the Land subclass. So, starting at second level, when you are a Circle of the Land Druid, you gain an additional cantrip of your choice. And it does not count against the number of cantrips that you know. So, pretty standard at second level, where I think all Druids have 2 cantrips that they know. If you're a Circle of the Land Druid, you get a third. Also at second level, so upon accepting the Druidic Circle of your choice, you also get a feature called Natural Recovery. And this is a way of gaining some of your magical energy by sitting in meditation and communing with nature in roleplay. During a short rest, you could choose expended spell slots to recover. Now, this is interesting because on short rests, you would naturally take your D8 of hit die and roll them to recover hit points. Short rests typically do not allow you to recover expended spell slots. However, if you're a Circle of the Land Druid, you're able to do so with this natural recovery feature. The spell slots can have a combined level that is equal to or less than half your Druid level rounded up. And none of those slots can be above 6th level or higher. For example, if you're a 4th level Druid, you can recover up to 2 levels worth of spell slots because you could cast 1st and 2nd level spells. So you can either recover that 2nd level spell slot or 2 first levels, right? Because it's half your Druid level. If you're a level 4 Druid, you could recover 2 slots. So perhaps you can get 1 2nd level slot or 2 first level slots. That's how that works. Of course, as you level up, cut that in half, round it up, and then you're going to be able to recover more spell slots during your short rest. You get a feature called Circle Spells, and this is like your mystical connection to the land, and it infuses your abilities. So at 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th level, you gain access to circle spells connected to the land where you became a Druid. So knowing that this is coming at 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th level, it would probably be a good idea for you to build this into your backstory. When your Druid became a Druid, where in the world were they? Because that will impact what you get. If you were in an Arctic-like setting, at 3rd level you would get access to spells like Hold Person and Spike Growth. At 5th level, Sleet Storm and Slow. At 7th level, Freedom of Movement and Ice Storm. At 9th level, Commune with Nature or Cone of Cold. Now, you can look up and see what these spells do. They're in the back of your player's handbook where the spells are. And if you look under the Druid section, it'll list them all there alphabetically, and you can check and see what some of these spells do. But a lot of them are based on freezing something, paralyzing something, doing cold damage, making difficult terrain that involves ice, because you became a Druid in the Arctic. So naturally, you've got some of those elements infused in your spells. That's what circle spells are all about. If you became a druid on the coast, you would get things like Mirror Image and Misty Step, Water Breathing, Water Walk at 5th level, Control Water and Freedom of Movement at 7th level, Conjure Elemental or Scrying at 9th level. And these have to do with water, the mists. Again, freedom of movement through difficult terrain, creating difficult terrain, scrying on somebody or spying magically on somebody. If you became a druid in the desert, you would get access to Blur and Silence at 3rd level, Create Food and Water, or Protection from Energy at 5th level. Blight, a very good necromancy spell, and Hallucinatory Terrain at 7th level, and Insect Swarm and Wall of Stone at 9th level. So you're tackling terrain again, a wall of stone because of the sand with the desert. Blur, being like partly a mirage against yourself to make you harder to hit, because you would see a mirage in the desert. Things like that. There are more. If you became a druid in the forest, then at 3rd level you get Bark Skin, or Spider Climb, meaning you can walk up walls and upside down. Call Lightning and Plant Growth, because you're from the forest. Divination or Freedom of Movement, Commune with Nature, and Tree Stride, which is a pretty cool way of teleporting using trees, because you became a druid in the forest. Doesn't that make sense? So as this goes on, based on where in the land you became a druid, you are going to get automatic access to these extra spells based on where you became a druid. And there are other features like grasslands, mountain, swamp, the Underdark, which is underground, caves, caverns, that kind of thing. Those are all the different options you have when you get to circle spells. So depending on the land type that you choose, at 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th level, you get access to the spells associated with that land circle. Okay? Next, starting at 6th level, you get access to an ability called Land Stride. And moving through non-magical difficult terrain does not cost you extra movement. So perhaps you're in a cold area and the lake has frozen over and your party needs to cross that lake by walking across the ice. They're going to do so at half speed because ice is difficult terrain, but not for you. You could use your full speed. You can also pass through non-magical plants without being slowed by them and without taking damage for them if they have thorns, spines, or a similar hazard. Because they're of nature and so are you. Those plants know not to harm you because you're one of them, so to speak. In addition, you'll have advantage on saving throws against plants that are magically created or manipulated to impede your movement, such as something like the Entangle spell. And the Entangle spell is like you causing grasping weeds and vines to come up from the earth and wrap around the ankles of some creature to entangle them and hold them in place. Something like that would not affect you as a druid. So that is interesting to get. And that's all part of the Land's Stride feature you get at 6th level. At 10th level, you get a feature called Nature's Ward. This means you cannot be charmed or frightened by elementals or fae. So an example of a fae creature might be a pixie, a fairy, a hag, or a witch. Those are fae. They love to frighten, they love to charm. But you wouldn't be affected by elementals or fae trying to charm or frighten you, and in addition to that, you would become immune to poison and disease. Because you're Nature's Ward, you're naturally attuned to things like that. Lastly, at 14th level, you get a feature called Nature's Sanctuary. And this means that creatures of the natural world sense your connection to nature and they become hesitant to attack you. So if a beast or plant creature attacks you, that creature must first make a wisdom saving throw against your druidic spell DC, which at 14th level is probably going to be high considering you had opportunities at levels 4, 8, and 12 to take an ability score improvement and spike that wisdom modifier as high as it can go. that would increase your difficulty class, making it less likely for your enemies to make the saves against your spells. And it makes you more powerful. On a failed save, when that beast or plant tries to attack you, they have to choose a different target, or the attack automatically misses if there are no other targets. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this effect of yours for 24 hours. So that's a good thing to have. Anytime a beast or plant creature tries to attack you once you're at 14th level, they have to first make a wisdom save to see if they're even going to target you. If they succeed, you get targeted. If they fail, they got to choose a new target or they just don't get to attack. Pretty awesome. Those are the options and features that you get with the Circle of the Land. Now let's talk about the other feature in your player's handbook, the Circle of the Moon. The Circle of the Moon Druids are fierce guardians of the wild. They are going to adhere to the moon and to share news and warnings. They haunt the deepest parts of the wilderness where they might go for weeks on end without crossing paths with another person or druid. They're reclusive, so to speak. They might prowl or decide to move about at night like a cat, or soar over the treetops as an eagle the next day, crash through the undergrowth as a bear, some solitary creature, if you want to roleplay it that way. What they get at Circle of the Moon is a feature called Combat Wild Shape. So Wild Shape for all druids is typically an action. However, at second level, you get the Combat Wild Shape feature where you can Wild Shape as a bonus action. So if you're in combat, you could Wild Shape, let's say, into a wolf, move as a wolf, and then use your action to bite as a wolf. That way you can make the cool thing happen and still have an action to take, all part of the same turn. And that's why it makes it a bonus action. That's pretty cool. Additionally, while you're transformed by Wild Shape, you can use a bonus action to expend a spell slot to regain hit points. So if you've watched our Intro to Druid video, you know that once you're in Wild Shape form, you use that creature's statistics. And if you're reduced to 0 hit points of that creature's statistics, you drop that Wild Shape form and revert back to your natural Druidic form. What this is saying is Combat Wild Shape, if you want to hang on to that beast shape that you have, you can expend one of your spell slots while still in beast form, which is going to allow you to take one of your hit die, 1d8, roll it, and regain that health to heal yourself, to keep that form going. Pretty cool. Also at second level, you're going to choose your circle form. So kind of like the land circles for the Circle of the Land Druid, this is going to be similar. And what this does in your circle forms is gains you the ability to transform into more dangerous animals. Starting at second level, you can use your Wild Shape to transform into a beast with a challenge rating as high as 1. Now, in our Intro to Druids video, you know that at second level, the max challenge rating of a creature you can transform into is a quarter. But if you're a Circle of the Moon Druid, you can go as high as a challenge rating of 1. Now, you would be ignoring the Circle of the Wild Shape table, but you can turn into something with a rating as high as 1. But you must abide by the other limitations on the Wild Shape table. So at second level, that means you can't pick anything that has a swim or a flying speed. You can go up to as high as a challenge rating of 1 instead of a quarter, but nothing that can swim or fly. Now, as you level up, this is going to get a little bit different, because starting at 6th level, you can change into a beast with a challenge rating as high as your Druid level divided by 3, rounded down if necessary. So, if you're a 9th level Druid, 9 divided by 3 is 3. So you could turn into a creature with a challenge rating as high as 3. If you saw the movie Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, you know that the Druid there had turned into an owlbear. I believe the owlbear is a challenge rating of 5. So this would mean if you are a 15th level druid, divided by 3 equals 5, that's the area in which you could turn into creatures with a challenge rating of 5. So the higher you go, the more formidable of a beast you can turn into. But it only applies if you're Circle of the Moon Druid. Very cool feature, especially if you're somebody who really wants to lean heavily into the wild shape. Circle of the Moon is for you. Starting at 6th level, you get a feature called Primal Strike. Your attacks in beast form count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunities to non-magical attacks and damage. Right? As you fight more challenging creatures, they might have resistances or immunities to certain damage types, non-magical damage types. Primal Strike is going to allow those creature attacks to be considered magical to overcome resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. So consider your attacks magical. At 10th level, you get a feature called Elemental Wild Shape. This means that you can expend 2 uses of your wild shape at the same time. Instead of transforming into a beast, you can transform into either an air elemental, an earth elemental, a fire elemental, or a water elemental. And I have to tell you, each one of these are pretty powerful. They are a challenge rating of 5 for each of them. They are very strong. It is definitely worth expending the 2 wild shape slots that you might have. I mean, you're going to have more than 2 at 10th level, but 2 of those slots will allow you to turn into pretty formidable foe with good statistics, good health, good attacks, totally worth it. So if you're looking to maximize your ability in combat, this is kind of the circle for you, Circle of the Moon. Lastly, at 14th level, you get a feature called 1,000 Forms. This means you've learned to use magic to alter your physical form in more subtle ways, allowing you to cast the Alter Self spell at will. This is a 2nd level spell that you can consider a cantrip for all intents and purposes. It's going to require your concentration for an hour, but basically you can assume a different form. When you cast this spell, you choose one of the following options, and the effect lasts for the duration, as long as your concentration isn't interrupted. So there are a few features here. I'm not going to go through all of it, but just taking a quick glance, if you choose the aquatic adaptation, you adapt your body into an aquatic environment, sprouting gills and growing webbing between your fingers. You can breathe underwater, and you gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed. Now remember, Alter Self is a spell. So at 14th level, the 1,000 Forms feature allows you to cast this spell without expending a spell slot, and you get to use all the options and features that Alter Self has. There are more than just aquatic adaptation. There is change appearance, and there is natural weapons, meaning like you grow claws or fangs, spines, horns, things like that. Very cool spell that you can utilize. Very cool that you don't need to spend a spell slot to use it. You get that at 14th level. There is a section in here in your player's handbook that talks about druids and the gods, if you want to incorporate faith in your druid and how that might work. Not going to dive into that here. But these are the 2 features that are in your player's handbook. Circle of the Land and Circle of the Moon. These are the 2 options for your subclass at 2nd level where you choose your Druidic Circle. There are more features and options out there and other supplements like third-party content, I'm sure, like Critical Role has, or perhaps you're looking at D&D's Tasha's Cauldron of Everything or Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There are some additional options in those books. We'll tackle those at a later date. For now, go ahead and build that Druid. Drop it in the comments. Let us know what you've created because we're interested in that kind of thing. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not already, and come right back here because next week we're going to dive into the fighter class. Until then, keep rolling those dice, and we'll see you at the table.